Alrighty, good evening, YouTube. Hopefully nothing will happen while I do this review because it's been raining all day and thundering, but it looks like it's calmed down now. And don't you just hate when you have those days you got stuff planned, but something has a little bit of rain just screws all that up. But anyway, H0 here back with another quick movie review. I'm gonna talk a lot in this one. Yeah. Uh, This is Higher Learning, written and directed by John Singleton. It stars Omar Epps, Michael Rapaport, Ice Cube, Busta Rhymes, Regina King, Laurence Fishburne. Um, I think her name is Kirsten Swanson, the chick that was the first Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the original 1992 movie. Jennifer Connelly, Cole Hauser, and I think that's pretty much everyone. But this film is about three college freshmen going to Columbus University, and all of them are different. One character named Malik, Remy, and Kirsten. Remy played by Michael Radport, Kirsten played by Kirsten Swanson, and Malik played by Omar Epps. And it was funny because I saw this film when I was in college, and it was kind of funny what happened. I think wasn't the next day. I think I saw this on the weekend when it was on MTV, and then when I went back to school. But I'm gonna break down the story and then get to that part. So the story is pretty much about the different diverse things that you go through when you go to college, when you get a higher learning education. So of course some colleges, yeah, they have a wouldn't say they would be all white, but you have a few of those. Some of them are culturally diverse, and then you have, of course, all black colleges. Excuse me. Of course, being here in Atlanta, Spelman and uh, Morehouse are the two biggest ones. So, pretty much, in this film, it really follows the three freshmen and all the people who they interact with and how the stories are really interconnected. Not that many have that much interaction until like the third act. I know Remy and Malik's character have multiple interactions uh, throughout the film. Oh, and I forgot Tyra Banks, a very young Tyra Banks is in this movie too. I knew it's always some one person I forget that's in this, but to the contrary. So we, you're really looking to explore the three different perspectives of these three, minority characters. And to be honest, personally, I wish they did more, you know, um, from like if a Latino goes, to college, and of course Asians, and also people who are from the Middle East. I really want to see that, but you know, it's, well, today they'll probably do that. I would do that. If I was making a movie like this, but pretty much you see all the different perspectives, and I'm gonna start off with Malik's a little bit. And it's funny because what I'm gonna say gonna be controversial about Malik and also Ice Cube's character. Uh, Pretty much Malik, in a way, the way that he thinks as a black man in college, some of that thinking, it kind of transpired, how some blacks really think, today. So some of them believe that they do have a certain privilege, but at the same time, to me, I do say it's bullshit because it does go down to the individual. Um, and even if you go to that higher learning of college, and even his own black professor had said this, you're not going to get an easy passage because of the color of your skin, because this, that, and the other. We live in America in a melting pot, as it should be, as an equal opportunity, no matter where you come from, whether you're gay, straight, if you got a disability. That's how I see it. That's how fair I am. But it sucks because we do have certain elites who don't play by that rule. Just heard the story of the other day, of the two famous Hollywood actresses that that fraudulently did some fraudulent documents, or I think they also paid Well, I definitely know they had paid their way, to get their kid into a certain, higher learning and one of the best colleges in the country. Not too sure about the fraudulent part, but I definitely know they had paid versus a black mom, you know, who didn't have the right address, and they give her 5 years. These two actresses, I know one in particular is going there for a long time, but one of them was bitching and complaining about 2 weeks, being in jail. And I'm just shaking my head like, and I'm not even throwing the whole race factor in there, but also, yeah, you're rich. So, but you know, Belief's character had challenged Laurence Fishburne's character, who was the professor, and of course, he called him a sellout and this, that, and the other, and he was pretty much saying just because you're black doesn't give you an excuse to not do certain things like everybody else. And me and my coworker, ironically, was talking about this last night. With the Democratic Party, most of the time, and again, you can get triggered if you want to, but with most black people, what a lot of them don't understand is that in this country, the American black man, some of the ones that come from the islands already figured this out, but they kind of do treat you like the special kid in the class. And, that should be offensive to you, but some of them are too stupid to even realize that. And, but it's not just black people either. It's pretty much anyone who believe that they're really disenfranchised because of what they are. And don't get me wrong, there are some hicks who are like that, but that's something that I don't like selling to anybody. Yeah, I really do believe in a fair chance, regardless of anything. Is same thing when you go into the workforce. When you get a promotion or loyalty, 9 times out of 10 is more about who is doing the best job, not who's been there the longest. And a lot of people, and I would say this, even a few of my generation really don't understand that. If you haven't contributed anything to the company, why the fuck should you get a promotion? I mean, I'm dead serious. It's not like much of a rhetorical question. But going back to the film, the good thing is that he does eventually, I think he does kind of change a little bit. And the messed up part, it really pretty much all of what I just said a few minutes ago had pertained to this essay that, he got, the professor had made them write. And even with Kirsten's character, he had criticized a little bit of her paper too. He pretty much was saying, we do an essay, you do state all the facts, but at the same time, you got to put in a little bit of personal, not just opinion, but a little bit something from your perspective if you had experience with it to make it more credible. And, going into college, I had to write a lot of essays, and even in high school, and it sucks because 9 times out of 10, I'm glad that I did decent in doing the format and stating the facts, but sometimes I did have writer's block because you can only talk about something so much before it gets old and repetitive. But also, that's why they give you time to research it. But back to the main topic, he did do well. In the messed up part, he even got help from his girlfriend, played by Tyra Banks, and she was the one that really told him about the whole structure of doing an essay. You have the thesis, and then you have the 5 body paragraphs, and then you have the conclusion, and you use a thesaurus to change up your wording. Don't use the same word every single time, because you may have a good factual paper, but it can be boring if you don't use good vocabulary. And a good thing, that's why reading is so important. Even me writing, my graphic novel script, I had to use do the little highlight thesaurus on Microsoft Word to change up some of my words. But the messed up part to me, and even I felt bad for Malik, he did ask him, did he write that paper? And I was like, that's kind of fucked up. He had asked him that because, as the audience and including himself, he put in that work and into doing it. And I guess it was that good. And at that point, Laurence, the professor's character, really didn't believe that he did that shit. And also adding to his character, he's pretty much a track star. And I think that was another reason why he had this whole high and mighty view of himself. And, that's the kind of part that disturbed me a little bit. I'm not going to go into much detail. you can ask me about that, in the comment section. One of my other, well, besides Laurence Fishburne, but Ice Cube, those two of those characters were kind of my favorite, but I did favor Laurence Fishburne's character the most, especially, ironically, he said a line that kind of hinted his future role in the Matrix, when he told Malik, there's no, bearded white guy sitting down, you know, um, writing everything out about your life. And ironically, that was in the Matrix with the architect. So it's kind of a funny future wink on that. But Fudge is my secondary favorite character, but at the same time, I didn't like him. The brother was very conscious, but at the same time, in a way, he did have that high and mighty stature about himself, but he had it in the worst way. Number one, he was pretty much like Huey from the Boondocks. The brother was very smart, even when he challenged Malik about the whole Frederick Douglass thing. And he said, don't read the book for no class. Read it, to feed your brain. And I do agree with that. I have the autobiography of Frederick Douglass. I have it somewhere, and I have a few other books on my shelf, next to comic books. But, everything from The Art of War to David Hillier and the Black Panther Party book. And there's another Black Panther Party book by Huey Newton I was going to read. What was it? The Art of War. Eventually, I'm going to read Mein Kampf, for my second graphic novel book. And what else? The Catcher in the Rye was another book that was on my list, and the list goes on and on of just Black philosophical books and just philosophy in general. Getting more into Eastern philosophy eventually, but again, me and this character, if I was going to college there, we would have had a lot of conversations about a lot of things, and there was even a few who were just the same way. They were intellectually smart like Fudge, but, they didn't have that same shitty personality. Because the one scene that pissed me off the most, and I'm not trying to justify, Remy later becoming a skinhead, but it was between him and Michael Rapaport, where he was studying for that class, and he was his roommate. He came in and started blasting his music. And then he's like, yo, how would you feel if you had to study for this hard-ass class, and I came in blasting my music? And he said, that shit wouldn't happen. And his character was so antagonizing the whole time, but I think he did it on purpose to get them, to move out. But, like I said, that was the one dick thing that Cube had did. And that was like the one thing I wouldn't do, because I really do respect other people's space. And, in a funny way, one of my uncles, he was kind of like that. He kind of, with that scene, it kind of had remnants of actual real life situation. He wasn't there. My mom had told him about it, and then he tried to say that the dude from downstairs was wrong for coming up and knocking on the door. I was like, well, not really, because number one, you would have told me that, and then two, we were blasting music kind of loud anyway. So yeah, but going to Remy's character, he did a very good job playing a skinhead, mainly because, number one, Michael Rapaport really isn't that kind of guy. And I'm going to get into, a lot of stuff he said behind the scenes that I just finished watching. You can even look it up on his interview on Vlad TV, because he had a lot of history, to especially with hip hop characters and with this movie a little bit, and doing that. So, pretty much, I've kind of felt bad for his character, because I talked to a few people who were in college who came from out of state and who really, really felt alone. And it was funny because I kind of felt alone too. I didn't really feel at home until one of my high school buddies had started going there. And I think it was around like the second or third semester. Then I felt a little bit more comfortable. But of course, at the same time, I do like meeting new people and talking to them. And of course, I'm at an art school, so we pretty much all like the same things, and of course, one main connection I had with a lot of people, even making friends with them, were video games, and also just collaborating on good ideas and having, nerd geek topics on Star Wars or comic books and stuff like that. But with Remy, he really didn't have that. And you see in the scenes in the movie how he tried to fit in with different crews and he couldn't. And First he was hanging out with, I think, with his roommate buddies, and with one of the Jewish cats, Adam Goldberg, who's in this. He has a small role, and you see them playing video games and playing pool, and you can tell that this kid was very, very lonely. And after that didn't work out, he tried to join a fraternity, and that had failed. And then he was reading, the Iliad one day, and then that's when Cole Hauser's character, the skinhead, walks up, and that's how he easily had pulled him in. And it sucks because, you know, with a lot of these revolutionary, and you can even say hate groups, 9 times out of 10, that's how they usually snatch these people. They come at them when they're vulnerable and alone, and in a messed up way. Even here, they even not really could have been a hate group. Actually, I believe they were trafficking people, but they tried to approach my mom and I one day at Walmart, and they tried to hit her with the whole cultic religion thing, but she has theology degrees in religion, and on top of that she has degrees in laws. Like as I stated before, the woman is very smart, and it was messed up and funny because in a way you could say it was like a feminist approach that they came at her, but I was like, to me it's an insult because she wasn't dressed that well one day. She actually was dressed a little bit bummy, but we were just out real quick to grab some stuff and then come back home. And to me, that was an insult. But at the same time, it was funny how she flipped it because, as soon as she went on a tirade, I was like, okay, this is the part where I got to walk away because, when I found out later who these people potentially were, I would have told them, turn around and get the hell on right now. Yeah, because number one, I feel bad for the little kid you got here who you simping up. But two, yeah, you sitting here talking about Mother Earth and Mother God like you're really, it sounds like some Scientology cult shit. And, you might be possibly trafficking, people. So get out of here. But that's my little small tirade. But hopefully you guys see what I'm saying. Like, that's how they pretty much, suck in people like this. And it's kind of messed up, to me. Some of them are very slick, they'll sit there and get to know them for a long time and see and look at their character, and that's what happened in this movie. And then it was messed up what they eventually got Remy, to do. Well, he kind of did it on his own, but he was still pumped up, with doing that shooting at the peace rally at the end of the movie. But it's probably some other stuff I'm leaving out because I did watch this movie like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm just doing the review now. Hopefully with all the films I reviewed, I'll just be able to do audio commentary, and it just be on that. But in closing out, the funny history with this movie, and Michael Rapaport had stated this, Tupac, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Gwyneth Paltrow were all originally was supposed to be in this film, and Michael Rapaport, of course, was still attached. He originally was gonna play Cole Hauser's role as the leader neo-Nazi, and I think Leo originally was gonna be Remy, and Gwyneth Paltrow was supposed to be the feminist lesbian played by Jennifer Connelly. Excuse me. Of course, Gwyneth and Leo had dropped out, and Remy, or the guy that played Remy, Michael Rapaport, he eventually, took the role of Remy because he didn't want to put on the weight and and some of the physical commitments, I believe, to play Cole Hauser's role. But pretty much, he was stating, it had to be like right after the Poetic Justice, or it could have been around Poetic Justice, but he was pretty much saying when they went to a after party or rap party, he met Tupac previously. He was saying they had at the party, it was him, Snoop Dogg, and Ice Cube, and more cast members, pretty much a Poetic Justice and of Higher Learning. They were all hanging out, and he said he witnessed the first time that Pac and Snoop were doing their rap battles. The first time Snoop had smoked a blunt, And it was just a lot of history stuff that was going on behind the scenes, and it was very interesting. Like I said, you just look up, Michael Rapaport Vlad TV interview. He can say a lot more than I can, and it really would have been interesting, to see Leo in that role. And this is before Leo had even did, Titanic and Leonardo DiCaprio, not Leonardo, Romeo and Juliet, because he did Romeo and Juliet. Then James Cameron seen him in that, and then cast him in Titanic. Then his whole career went to international stardom. Then he did The Beach, and then the rest is history. But yeah, Michael Rapaport had stated that he knew of Tupac a little bit earlier on. He knew Jada Pinkett. They both had the same agent, and she had told him that he was a rapper and an actor. And of course, back then, not that many people took that seriously. Hell, they even did that with Ice Cube. They didn't believe he could act either and take it seriously. But the thing is that once Juice had came out and Michael Rapaport had saw it, and a lot of people said the same thing. He knew that this dude can act. But when I eventually get to Juice, I'm gonna get to more detailed stuff behind the scenes on that, because they interviewed the guy that played Raheem on Vlad TV. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. This is one of my favorite movies. It's kind of funny how I bet you a lot of the SJW people, they never heard of this film by John Singleton. They only know him for like Boys in the Hood and Baby Boy, but they didn't look at his other work, especially with this. And I like the message at the end of the movie. It said unlearned, and it's pretty much saying you can unlearn all that bullshit you were programmed, either as a kid or what you saw on TV, what you saw about other people in different races, because it is scripted and written. And I know what I was gonna say. Right after I had saw this movie on MTV, and this to me, when I was kind of conscious of, the SJW, I was more conscious about it, and in a way had a moment like Remy did in the film. But of course, I didn't go around shooting people. But what I noticed is that when I went back to school, like Monday, for some reason, I had, people were acting a little bit differently. And it wasn't like, heavy racism. It was more like them being super, super conscious, and to the point of borderline crazy. Like, so much information was coming at them at one point. And it wasn't until like later in the week when one of my acquaintances had said, yeah, I saw that movie too. And then when I came back, starting Monday, I was mad as hell. Like, and I was like, wait, what? And it was just weird. Like, the whole atmosphere had like changed. But he was the only one who I talked to about it. And of course, my roommate and I at the time, when he was here, he saw the movie too. And because it played a few times, like on MTV. But I just said to myself, like damn, And it was to a point where, I was kind of mad too. But then I woke up, and it's kind of like a moment where you see everyone sitting there killing each other, and everyone fighting, and you're the audience member, and it's kind of like a overwhelming, dreadful thing. But again, that's pretty much all I have to say. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace.